All right, all right. Good evening, good evening. It is Thursday evening, the 2nd of January. Happy New Year. How you doing, Jack?
Happy New Year, Tim Judge. Tim Judge in the house, yeah.
Yes.
The famous Tim Judge, the realtor. You probably know him from that. If you don't, he should be your realtor. What can I say? So get his number. You can, get in touch with him. He's your realtor. I'm good. I'm good. Tim, how are you?
I am doing well, feeling good, ready, and excited for our conversation about trust and New Year's resolutions. And I have some actual trust news. We hooked a family member up into the Uber Eats app to do deliveries, and clicked on the trust option and hooked up the EIN into the trust, and the deposits went directly into the trust bank account. So very excited for Uber Eats recognizing all of that and making the deposits. So working for the trust and keeping 100% of all those delivery fees and tips. So it was good. So it's very, very exciting, and making believers out of the rest of the family.
That is wonderful news. That's so great. Wow.
Yeah.
That hack's been around for years. I haven't used it myself, but I've heard from others that it has been, and it can be eye-opening to be like, wait, it's on the drop down. What? Oh, dang. Okay, wait a second. If Uber,
I looked up in the I have to update the tag inside the classroom, because I did look that up and it was over a year old or whatever it was, and they were like, oh, you got to do this and that and jump through hoops. But because I was wondering, but then as we signed up and put it in there, I was scrolling through and found that the trust is an option in the drop down of what kind of corporation or business you have. And then once you do that and fill in your EIN, it's all over. And you put the bank account information in there and no questions asked. Done and done.
Meaning, you're not going to pay the IRS a penny or fill out a form to them, which makes your life so much easier. You might get a 1099 from Uber. Hey, whatever. Maybe they email it. Who knows? Maybe you don't. But if you do, right, the IRS knows you don't pay them and you don't report, and So when you get that 1099, you don't do anything with it. If you were to get a 1099, which I'm not sure they do, but because I know it's in their drop down, maybe they just made it easier, which is pretty cool.
Well, I will. I think by the end of January, they say they send out their 1099s. I'll see what gets sent in. Of course, I'm not going to do anything with it, but I'll just report on how I hooked it up and what happens at the end of January when they send out their paperwork. If I get anything, I'll put that in a post and say Uber Eats is good to go.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I've known different people who've used it, and Uber Eats is like Uber to drive too, so people have done it over there as well. And I've heard over the years, I never heard a complaint or that it didn't work or now they don't or there's this problem. And, everyone's like, sweet. And that's the last I hear from. So it'll be good to hear what happens, because I never hear from anyone. It's like smooth as silk. It was like, drop down menu, click, end up. I literally have never heard from anyone. Okay, I guess that works perfectly. It's the best news is no news, no problems from anyone. So I'm happy for you. That's a great one. That's a great one. It has ripple effects, like you said. It ripples into the family,
That's it. Exactly. Frank's here. Happy New Year, Frank. Hello, Jack and Tim. Michael is in the house too. Yo, greetings. God bless everyone. Michael, welcome. Good stuff. Good stuff. Any big announcements? How are we going to start off the year? Anything in the hopper?
I mean, if you don't have this trust, and it's 2025, and this Liberty Aid Academy has been around for 50 years doing this. Oh, there's your buddy right there.
Yeah. Look who made it. So he's in this hemisphere now.
Right. Oh, let me still pop up my beach photo. Ha ha. Everybody else could be freezing.
There it is. Finally in a time zone where I can see you live. Welcome all.
Yeah, that's great. Good to have you, Scott. Thanks for the support, man. And good work on your end. You're using the trust. Great. Like everyone here, I mean, maybe there's a few new people, and that's great. You should use a trust. That's the thing. In 2025, when you're not doing this, like this is how they've gotten over us on us all the years. As the decades add up together, can you imagine what would happen if you from the jump? You know what I mean? You and your homies and your whole family and your whole crew never paid the IRS, never reported, you know what I mean? And all the rest of the hacks that you have in this, think of how much different your life would be right now. And so you need to start now. Whoever isn't doing this, you know what I mean? You need to start today, and start your new year because we did the math here, and there's nothing else which gives a financial return like this. And it's something that, it's like other things you're like, oh, I'm going to invest and get a financial return in something. I mean, gold or real estate, them things disappear at some point. You know what I mean? Like you have to sell them and get your return or something's happening. But here at Liberty Academy, you get this return, which financial returns, all the way into the future doesn't end. You get knowledge. You see, and it doesn't evaporate. It doesn't go away. It stays with you. You get this knowledge that no one else is giving. It's copyrighted. I developed it of an account, and so here's the proof, and then everyone else's proof, and so it's really this. This is a kind of investment when no one can take this away from you or your family. Like Tim was saying, no one can take it away from you or your family. Like the ripple effects are fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're fantastic. So you need to do this to change your life. Like if you don't have this, if you don't sign the trust, if you don't use this hack, you're still using your person, your straw man, your corporation that's got us chained to them, constantly worrying about our money. This is own nothing, control everything. Everything's in the trust. You're like, it's not trusty, haha. Yeah, you got the debit card, you can control everything, but it's like, it's not mine. This is the hack they created. The super wealthy. You know what I mean? Ha ha ha. We'll get over on everyone. Ha. Well, now you can just do what they're doing. The super wealthy, it's not hidden anymore. Anyone can do this. And you don't have to be evil and like, don't tell them. You know what I mean? You don't have to do that. You can tell anyone in your family, like, this works 100%. Hey, this is how it works. Look at my debit card. Look at my credit cards. Look at my bank account. Everything is fine. Look at real estate. Everything's cool.
We've got our friend Michael joining us again. Michael, how are you, sir? Happy New Year.
All right. Well, happy New Year, Mike.
I'm good. And last time I was on, I was muted out. So I figured that out.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm good. I think John calls me a mic check sometimes. So I'm here.
Well, how are we doing, Mike? Since you checking us.
Yeah, I'm doing great, gentlemen. Thank you. So I just wanted to, someone clicks on the show and they see more people's heads and stuff. It gets all exciting, So I'm just here to fill the page up.
All right, welcome.
You've had a week, so you can fill it up with some information if you want to.
I have so much, but I thought maybe you guys could go back and forth and maybe get some things out that you might want to share. I'm super excited about what I had going on. So
no, you're.
Well, do you have a New Year's resolution for the trust or trust work or anything, a goal for 2025?
Way to go, Tim.
I opened up a trust account at Truist Bank today because a few months ago, I've opened up 2 accounts. The first one was at Chase Bank over a year ago, and then I did a Truist account, which was great. But locally, and here's the funny thing, if any of you are going to the bank with your trust documents, make sure to ask the bank for any kind of document that they would provide that you would sign to write down any co-trustees or any additional information. If there's any secondary trustee, to access funds, that kind of thing. They the legal team approved the trust fast. I've done this 3 times now, and it's like 25, 30 minutes. They approve the legal team gets their documents faxed by the local branch at the banks. So with the Truist,
is that with Truist or Chase? Because you said two
all of them have been all of them have been like 30 minutes, pretty much 15 or with the legal department thing where you're waiting to hear back. So my Truist account was shut down like 4 months ago because the legal team assumed the local branch was going to give me that document for the trustees, the list of trustees. And they sent it to a random address because I had debit cards sent to me on a job site. So it was shut down basically because they're like, oh, you didn't fill out this form, and they shut me down. And I was like, you didn't say I needed to. But anyways, I went to Truist today in West Virginia, over in Beckley here, and I was in and out 30 minutes probably. I assumed I'd have to make an appointment. They're like, no, if you got all your documents, we can take you right now. So I opened that up. So that was the first thing, because 3 or 4 months without a bank account, I can kind of work things out because I'm a tradesman, so people will pay me cash. But not having that bank account or a Zelle or like a debit card, it slows you down. So that's my New Year's resolution. I opened up this bank account again because when the 2 bank accounts got shut down, it kind of chips away at your success. You're like, oh man, like what the heck? I don't want to go back and do it again, So yeah, I opened that up. For me, let's add financial technologies, because I feel like I've been over at the buffet doing the spiritual technologies for quite a while, and I want to go try some other flavors and stuff. So, but yeah, I have had an interesting week. I'll talk about what just happened because it's fresh. And then I guess if I come on in the future, I'll talk about what I didn't finish last time, or I could bring that up now. I guess I'll bring it up. So several years ago, like 7 years ago, I was in my father's estate. He had passed away, and one of my dogs got loose when I was gone and chased some guy in a golf cart. And then once they chased him, they came back on the porch and laid down. We were out in the woods, 5 acres. Your neighbors aren't close. So over the years, people started moving to this neighborhood, and I couldn't let my dogs out as much because now there's like city money coming in and making nice houses and taking over like the country look. And anyways, long story short, my friend called me. He's like, hey, because I was gone and I had a friend staying there. He's like, hey, your dogs just chased a golf cart, and the guy fell off his golf cart, and he's all scraped up and stuff. He hit a fence and everything, and I was like, whoa. So I got home, and I was sitting on the front porch. It was a wraparound porch, like a house up on stilts. So I'm sitting on the wraparound porch. I'm looking at the front gate, which is like 100 yards, maybe less away. There's a fence and a gate. I see this golf cart come pulling up with a cop car behind it. And I'm like, is this guy getting pulled over by the cops? Like, what is this? And I'm like, oh yeah, earlier, the story from earlier. So they pull up to the gate and stop. And I'm like, oh, they stopped. Like, it's about to start. And I'm thinking that, I don't know what I'm thinking, but so the backdrop is my father passed away. This house was in an estate. The estate wasn't one of John McCaig's trusts, so it had a bunch of back doors. It got picked apart and taken away from me after like 7 years of trying to keep it. So that's gone. But while I was there on the front porch on my father's estate property, I'm there like 7 years by myself with my wife. My dad had passed away, and I don't have any claim to the house that I could actually articulate. So I'm just there, staying there as long as I can. If the bank tried to foreclose, I would just say I don't understand with red marker and send all their stuff back, because I didn't understand, and it slowed things down, which was really cool. So I'm standing at the gate because the cops, they shine their spotlight or their flashlight, one of the two, in my face, when I'm sitting over on the porch, and they're like, hey, we need to talk to you. And I'm like, all right, I'll be right there. I'm like, dang it. So I walk to the gate. There's a sheriff and the guy on the golf cart, and he's scraped up and everything, but I noticed right away there's no punctures, there's no bite marks. And from what my friend said, the witness, is that the dog went for the tires of the golf cart. The guy jerked the wheel and he dumped himself out onto the street, which was terrible. You know, he's an older guy and I felt really bad about it, but I wasn't there. And standing at the gate talking to the cop and the guy, I started thinking to myself, I'm like, there's a liability here, you know? And, but I don't own the property. This is my father's estate. Everything here is in his name. And so I was like, I'm a trustee because I was in his will and everything. So the dialogue started and I'm like, hey, how's it going? Oh, pretty good. This gentleman here said that your dog had attacked him and pulled him out of his golf cart and bit his arm and stuff. And I was like, the property is not mine. I'm just here taking care of it. The dogs aren't mine. It's actually all in a private estate, and I'm just the steward. And the guy was like, oh, that's horse crap. That's his dog, you know, because this guy drives by for years and years, and I'm outside petting the dog and everything, and he's like, that's his dog. And the cop is like, well, hold on, sir, slow down. He just said that this isn't his property. The cop's like on my side immediately because hot potato, it's not, you know, it's wherever the liability is, it's not getting pinned on me. And the guy's trying to pin it on me, and the cop's actually like, hey, this guy doesn't own the dogs, right? So I said to the guy, I would love to help you with any bandages, or like if you go to the hospital and you need patched up, I'll help you, but I wasn't here. I didn't witness anything. I said, the dog that might have chased you obviously didn't bite you. I said, I don't mean to be rude, but you don't have puncture wounds, sir. You know, is there any way else that I can help you? And he's like, well, it's your dog. That's your dog. I know it's your dog. And again, the cop's like, sir, just tone it down. And then the cop's like, well, I talked to the guy. She actually moved him away from me. She's like, I talked to the guy and he doesn't want to press charges. He just wants to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. And he wants to make sure the dog doesn't have rabies. So blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, he doesn't have puncture wounds on him. So, and I said, also, the dog is private property, because what it turned into is they wanted to see the dog. The sheriff, even though seemed to be on my side at first, it turned into, let's call a sergeant. Let's get the sergeant over here. And I was like, oh, great. And then they're like, we're going to have animal control over here. We're going to have animal control come, and they're going to remove the animal, and they're going to check it for rabies and that kind of thing. And I said, well, that's great. Good luck with that. I'll be up on the front porch if you guys need me. And I just turned around and walked away because the dialogue was done between me and the guy and the cop that first showed up. So another 20 minutes goes by and back up, or sergeant shows up, animal control shows up, and the animal control agent, she was so like riled up, you know, like, let's get a dog, like, yeah, let's choke a dog and drag it out of something. And she comes up to the gate and she's like, so where's this dog at? And I'm like, you mean where's the private property? It's behind this gate that's locked. It's up there in that house right there that's also locked. And she's like, sir, you're obstructing our investigation. And I said, well, then why don't I just leave and go sit on the porch again? And before I had walked away, before I walked away, the animal control was like, she interrupted me when I was like, well, then I'm just going to go walk and sit down. She's like, well, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. And I was like, what's the hard way, ma'am? Felony trespass, breaking and entering, stealing private property. And she just shut up. And I've never had these interactions with anyone as a trustee. I didn't have the John McCaig trust, but I knew that I didn't own the property. And so I was like, if I don't own the dogs, I'm all right, you know? So I told her, you know, you can do it the hard way you want, you know, but it's going to be illegal. And then there was a little bit of dialogue that doesn't really matter. And I just kept going back to, well, it's private property and I'm not authorized to let you pass the gate. Oh, it's private property. Oh, the dog's private property. Private property. Oh, Oh, trust. Ah, private property. So then after I was like, well, just, you guys investigate whatever you got to do. If I'm obstructing, I'm going to go sit on the porch and, drink my tea like I was doing. Right. So I go upstairs, I'm sitting on the porch, and then I was like, hey, I'm going to go inside. So I went inside instead, so they couldn't see me, because I didn't want them to just look over and be like, hey, we want to talk to you more. I just went inside to get rid of them, like, go away. And I'm looking over at my wife, and I'm like, I don't know what's about to happen. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I pretty much told them all to kick rocks and that they can't come past the gate and they can't see the dog. And we're just sitting in the house. I'm waiting for them to come through the gate. I'm waiting for them to open the door. None of it ever happened. I go back outside and like maybe 20 minutes, everyone's gone and nothing ever happened. So I wanted to share that with you all because I didn't have the trust, but I was acting as a trustee. And so I didn't have the most bulletproof trust in the world or whatever. But because of how I was acting and because of the capacity I was in, they couldn't pin the tail on the donkey, and the tail was the liability, and the donkey was whoever catches a charge. So I just wanted to share that story because if you don't own something, you're not liable. It's true. It works. They don't know what to do. They all just kind of get confused. There wasn't a murder or anything, so it's not like they were really adamant about breaking the law to protect or enforce the law. So they were like, yeah, we're going to be doing something wrong and it ain't worth it. So they all left. So I just wanted to throw that out there and share that story. That's what I didn't get out last time.
I love that story. I think it's really meaningful for people because it's an actual thing that happened, and you're a great storyteller. I'd love to listen to any stories that you have, and I love it, and your songs or your music and everything, but no, it's very practical information. This information is practical, and it has a practical side of finances and interacting with the law and the courts and the cops and all that stuff. It's very helpful in that way. And it has a spiritual side too. Both of them work together. They're not separate in any way. It's a Christian loophole. I'm sided up with God, and that works out in every way, shape, or form. And the cops respect it, and so does everything else. So it's great. The banks and the cops respect something. It's like, wait, what? They do, because the wealthy elite use these trusts. So that's why they respect it. It runs their system. I'm an accountant. I caught them. And you're just saying working in that capacity is something the cops are trained to respect. So it's great. I'm happy for you, man.
Oh, another detail I didn't add in is that I used to work in a prison in like 2006 and 2007, and I think part of 2008 I was a correctional officer. And so the sheriff that showed up, it was a woman, and I used to work with her at the prison, and everybody thought she was a clown. She used to bring stuff in for the inmates, and she was very unprofessional, and you name it. So when I saw her wearing a badge showing up to try to tell me, what's happening and what's going to happen and all this, I was like, I worked with you. I wore a uniform with you. You're a clown. That's what I'm thinking. I didn't disrespect her. She didn't even remember me because I had, I looked different than when I did before. My hair was a little shorter. I was a little clean cut before in the past. I just want to throw that out there, is that also gave me some confidence because I just didn't respect her because I knew her from a professional relationship, worked with her in some of like the dormitories, watching inmates, whatever, patrol, that kind of stuff. And I didn't respect her. So her showing up was perfect for me. It gave me that confidence to like, oh, you're a human too, but you're just wearing a different uniform. And I used to wear one with you. So that was something that gave me confidence as well. And then once I started getting that reaction of, well, it's not his dog, I was like, yeah, it's not my dog. It'll never be my dog. Come here, Spot. Come here, Spot. You want a treat?
Yes, I know the dog. Yeah, sure, but no.
Yeah, I know the dog. Yeah, they listen to me, but these are trustee commands here that we've been working on.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. Yeah. I love that story, and you have your bank account, you're running your family, you doing your work, working for other people. I mean, it is a pain to sometimes have to open another trust and stuff, but it works out fine. You know, it is a pain, but these tools work, and you know, uh, I think I've learned a lot from hearing your stories of what you've done out there because Tim and I definitely, and many other people here, are quite interested in, you know, the work at the gate, you know, and,
Yes,
and how
it's
to stay
real.
Yeah.
involved. Yeah.
It's real. And here, I had property that I put into one of John McCaig's trusts down in Florida, and I've mentioned to you guys on one of the other shows how other people are getting notices and code violations for gates and fences and stuff, and I've got gates and fences, and they don't care about me, or they don't care about the trust. But they used to back in the, a couple years ago. If you had a piece of trash there or a car, they'd be like, yeah, yeah, get it out of here. Here's your notice. You got 60 days or whatever. But what I wanted to say is for that property, there's not like a real fence. I just used like mason string, like for concrete workers. It's like bright pink or orange, and it's real strong. So I just hung that around the border because I can't afford a fence for the trust or the whatever. The trust doesn't have the money for that right now. So I created a border outside of the gate with string, so they can see it. So, and there are signs on it, no trespassing and things like that. So if you don't have a fence, just run like caution or police tape or anything that defines a boundary before you can get a fence, and spend your money on your gate. So it's like, kind of official, and then work on the fence later. Because I feel like seeing that defined boundary, even though it's plastic or string, it helps because they can't deny that they didn't know where the private property started or whatever, So that was a little trick I did.
I love it. So practical, man. You're very practical. Man, yeah, you're like, I give it to God. I am very practical, and then just don't take on, your ego gets out of the way. You're very patient, warm, and caring guy, and your ego gets out of the way and just is like, what? I don't have anything here. I'm just watching over things, and that's what they do. So they sort of have to respect it, They're just watching over things.
Well, so when I offered to help the guy with any kind of injuries, it was like a confession and avoidance, but it was also honorable.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I love that story, man. Like it had every piece in it, and you're a very compassionate guy.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
With the dogs,
Yeah. So there was one more thing that it was so funny. There was one more thing I didn't tell you guys. Right before I left the gate for the last time and went upstairs, I was like, "Oh, officer," and they're like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Why is this guy on the road with an unregistered and an uninsured vehicle? Shouldn't you pull him over right now?" And they're like, "Well, that's besides the fact." I'm like, I don't really think it is. I mean, like, I don't know whose dog chased the golf cart, but what's it doing on the road? It's not registered or insured. And, I just kept saying that it's not registered or insured. This guy's breaking the law already. Why aren't you guys talking to him more, And they just kept saying, oh, that's besides the point here. That's, so that was something that they were like, bah, we don't know. But, it was hilarious. So, and then, the next day I was on the road with my golf cart, with no license plate and stuff. But because it's one of those communities where you have golf carts, you drive around and you wave to people and you've got your drink in your cup holder. And when you go to your house, you can't see anyone because, there's gates and 5-acre pieces of 5-acre lots out there and stuff. It's called Hidden Acres in Arcadia, Florida, DeSoto County. That's where this happened. Cute. So, yeah. You want me to get into the next thing, or do you want me to just let you guys?
Well, I think it's great because you've qualified yourself as either the greatest guy at the gate or one of them. You know what I mean? Obviously,
the gatest of all time. I'm the goat.
After your interview, you know what I mean? You're like, you're hired for the best. Does anybody need a gate guy? This is the guy.
Yeah. When I first met John McCaig on the beach, I found his website, found his phone number, and I was like, this guy's in Florida. I'm like 30 minutes away. I called him and he answered. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, pretty good. And I was like, can I come to the beach and meet you? And he's like, yeah, come over to the beach. So that was one of the stories I told him, because John would give me these little side missions and give me little things to do. and we would see each other every week, every 2 weeks, every month, every 3 weeks, whatever. So that's one of the stories I told him, and he's like, "Hey, you're hired," you know, because I think that helped. I think that helped. Yeah, it helped John kind of open up more to me, and then we would talk more, and then it's just it built. Like, he would have sold me the trust, no problem, but he wanted to make sure I bought one and signed it before he was, you know, spending too much time with me, because a lot of people won't sign it. They'll talk about it, they'll walk up to it, they just won't sign it, won't do it.
Certainly
So,
no one physically around me like this, so this is a one-off guy, you know what I'm saying? Which my uncle is a one-off guy, as we've just heard all about it. So,
and I've
go ahead, man.
Oh, I was just saying that I traveled. I went to different states. I've been in different countries. I've studied. I've been in weird groups. I've been kicked out of groups. I've done all kinds of stuff trying to find the truth. And I ended up back in my hometown, and I met this guy. You know, I left my hometown to kind of discover and what's going on out there and have more experiences. And I ended up back in Florida because I was tired of Florida after like 35 years or so. And so I left for 5 years, and then or something like that. You know, I was born and raised there, and the summer times are really hot. You know, when you're a Floridian in the summer and you're in the winter time and snowbirds show up, you look at them and you're like, you didn't earn it. You know, like I was here when it was hot. They you know, they help the economy and stimulate restaurants and all that stuff. But there's just like a certain respect for people that are there all year and are in that summer heat and humidity and stuff. So I wanted a little bit of a change. I went to Pittsburgh. So, and it was very cold there. Everyone's like, you moved from Florida, you an idiot. We all want to go to Florida. And I'm like, I don't know. I just, I'm just trying something new. You know what I mean? So.
Well, that's funny.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So, you know, Mike and I have done a lot to, you know, we haven't known each other that long, but like we went to India together and you know, had time to get to know one another. He has a great family and helps a lot of people. It helped me. Like he helps, you know, people with their homes and stuff. He does work on them, and he helped me after a hurricane. And my God,
that was really funny. I pulled into the park where John is staying at, and when I pulled up, he just looked like he like climbed out of the rubble. He's like pulling giant sheets of like roofs. People's carports are like in his face where he's trying to walk around his yard. He can't get around, and I had a couple strong guys and me, and I checked on him and, you know, saw how he was doing. And right when we showed up, he was trying to move the biggest piece of metal that you've ever seen. And we were just there to be like, hey, we got this. We'll help you. And we just dragged a bunch of stuff to the street. But yeah, if I'm at someone's house being paid to do work, I always do extras because I'm already there and I appreciate their business and that kind of thing. So sometimes my wife has to. Doesn't really work, but she's like, you do so much, and I'm like, I can't help it. You know, you do so much for people. Like,
he's so
yeah, I just can't help it.
You're always like, look, I have to pay you more. You did too much. You know what I mean? Honestly.
Yeah, I don't charge that much either. I'm like a secret legend when it comes to handyman or like contractors or renovators. Yeah. I'll come in and do better work than most people, and I'm like half the cost. I don't have as much living expenses. Pretty soon I won't have property taxes when the trust files for tax exemption. That's this year's resolution too. Then I have a family property that we're going to put in a trust, and we're all going to operate the trust together and get that tax exempt here in West Virginia.
Fantastic. So I mean, what is really great information, like some of this technical work that you've done with the cops and stuff is just, you know, people you have to understand, like this is a real deal. But, you know, this has another side to it, and you've decided to, you're like, everyone else is like, okay, I put my bank account right away. I did all the financial stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Michael's like, okay, what's the spiritual stuff? And we're going to do, you know what I mean? This guy has just been focused over there 100% on it. And, you know, kind of like got to the end of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's really...
what happened to me in the past 5 days will give you guys chills. It's something that the entire city got to witness. it was just crazy. So one of the things he's talking about with this, yeah, the spiritual stuff, I wanted to do that because that's what led me to John and the contract and all that stuff, or the trust and the contract law and the accounting and stuff. And like the banking stuff and the credit stuff, it's like a mosquito or a gnat that keeps biting me and stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to deal with them. Even if like I can get credit and free stuff, I'm just like, I would rather just kind of be in the woods or like swing a hammer and just kind of provide. And I don't know. Now I'm going to focus on the financial technologies 100%, because like John says, I just found the edge of some of the spiritual stuff, and I had to back off because it got crazy. So what I'd like to say is, let's see. Okay, last week, I don't know the dates, but I remember the day. So last week on Wednesday, today's Thursday, so 8 days ago, last week on Wednesday, I started watching the free home course that John has for Jesus Christ Trust. And so he's got several technologies. You could already have a house that's mortgaged. You could put the notice on the door. There's more remedies than I can even think of. But this one had nothing to do with banks, had nothing to do with paperwork. It was just a notice on the gate. You put, this property is under sole authority of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, right? If you do that, that ties in with the Passover lamb, where they used to put blood over the door, and the families would eat the lamb inside the house, and then their house would be skipped over by what, demons, or what was it?
God. It say God in the Bible.
Oh, so, okay. I'm very ignorant to some of the teachings in the Bible, but I'm experiencing them. So now when I read the Bible, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that one. Because they're maxims. They're like self-evident truths. There's a lot of little short sentences and little phrases in the Bible where someone could say it and you can't prove it wrong. It's just in your face and it's true, you know? So I like those. I like the maxims and things. I'm getting more into scriptures and reading because on Wednesday, I started watching the free home course, and it's about an hour and 14 minutes, something like that, I think. So I'm doing this tile backsplash for my sister. I start working. I start playing the video. I got my little Bluetooth speaker, and I'm like 20 or 30 minutes into the thing, and I pause it, and I go do something, or like get lunch in the camper or something that's parked outside, because we brought a camper up here to West Virginia so I could stay on the property and help my sister renovate this house before she moves in. So I go back upstairs and I'm working, and in my right side, one of my ribs just for no reason just dislocates, like someone punched me or like I was lifting something. So I had to stop working for the day and not finish the video. Not that I was like, oh, I don't know, I kind of forgot. I forgot about the video completely. And fast forward to Friday, like 3 days later, because this happened earlier on Wednesday, so I consider it 3 days of just rib pain. And I keep saying the Mike rib is back. Everybody says the McRib at McDonald's, but I'm like, oh, the Mike rib is back. Like, oh, you know. So I have that pain that I'm dealing with, coughing, laughing. Like anyone that's around me, I'm like, can you guys be like real dull and boring so that I like don't entertain me? I don't want to laugh right now. And then that makes them laugh, and then I'm laughing. So on Friday, my rib is feeling a little bit better. I watched the rest of the video while I'm working. I finish my work day. The next day, I go out to, we have 8 acres that I mentioned. The family is going to put this 8 acres into a trust shortly. I'll help with that because of what John has taught me how to do. It's great. So I'm going to take care of the family in that respect. So I went out and visited that 8 acres, and it's like 40 minutes from Beckley. Beckley's like the city part of the area, and then you go to Rock Creek. It's what it's called. Rock Creek is extremely rural. You go out there, your cell phone signal drops like 20 miles before you even get to the house. You know what I mean? And there's a Family Dollar and a gas station and a post office. And if you steal a bicycle, like everybody knows you did it. It's like a small little place, you know. So I'm over there hanging out, and I have this 4-wheeler, and the ATV or four-wheeler was out there in the barn, and I go out there, start it up, I ride it around the property. I rode for about an hour, and my wife was out there too. We took the grandson on the four-wheeler and we putted around, and then we parked. I said, hey, you know what? Because she's like, I'm gonna change the diaper on our grandson. He's 2.5 years old. And I was like, okay. She's like, don't worry about me. Go, go ride, go have fun. And she didn't even finish talking. I was like ripping the tires and I'm shooting up the mountain because it's a steep property. You can walk it, but you got to be really motivated to get to the top. You got to be like, all right, yeah, all right, I'm gonna go up there today because it's pretty steep. But they have something called switchbacks that are level. They're like dug into the hillside and they go back and forth so you can get up. So I'm coming up and coming down and I'm riding around, and there was this new trail. Well, it's not new. It's an older trail that I drove through just last minute towards the end of the day. I'm like, oh, I'm going to drive through and reestablish this trail so it connects to the backyard of the house, blah, blah, blah. Because I wasn't familiar with the trail and maybe the speeds I should have been doing, I came down the trail the second time because I made the pass, kind of broke some branches, and then I'm like, all right, now I can go fast. I'm not going to get whipped in the face with anything. So now I'm going a little bit fast, but not irresponsibly fast. I know how to operate machinery. I know how to have fun within my limits. So I'm going down the trail, and then there's a switchback coming up. I see it. I'm trying to slow down for it. Once I get to the switchback, that's when, because I'm coming down the mountain, and then when I hit a switchback, I can go left or right, and then I can be on that level path to go down again. I was going just a little bit too fast, and I got to the level ground coming down the incline, and I was going just a little bit too fast. I stopped just in time, but I was going just a little bit too fast, and I got thrown over the four-wheeler downhill. I fell like maybe 10 feet down, and I landed right. I had my arms up for this wild ride. I was like, whoa! I hit my rib cage, and right underneath my left pec. I didn't go get an x-ray because you have to spend money, and then they just like say, good luck, because they can't do anything with ribs anyways. So when I hit the ground, I could feel a pop, really loud pop in my chest. And the funny thing is the rib that was dislocated on Wednesday, 4 days prior, it went back into place, and now I had another one popped out. And I'm like, the McRib is gone. The McRib is back. I'm like, and you know what I mean? I'm like, what is going on? I fall down. I hit my rib cage. And here's the thing. This all happened so fast that I was probably going like 10 to 15 miles per hour, which isn't fast. But because of the grade changing, the machine kind of like caught the edge of the hill. It threw me downhill. I hit the ribs, like I said. The reason I hit my ribs and didn't break my fall with my arms is because I knew I had a 700-pound machine coming right behind me. So I let the ribs hit the ground because I didn't care. I knew that I had to turn around immediately and crawl out of the path of this machine rolling down the hill. So I get out of the path of the machine just enough for it to run over my legs and my ankles. And it's a heavy machine. And after that happens, the machine rolled over one time. It landed on its tires. It's still running. Like, hey, you want to go riding? And I'm like, what just happened? Like, the machine's not even broke. The machine's not dented. Nothing's broken at all. I'm telling you, it's wild. And I'm like, what just happened? Like, I'm not being reckless. Like, what just freaking happened? And I drove down the hill to my wife. I got that face where I'm like, she's like, what happened? I'm like, I just did this bad. And she's like, oh gosh, do we need to go to the hospital? I'm like, let me just walk it off. So I'm walking it off, and then I start getting angry, and I'm like, if you fall off the horse, you got to ride it again. So I get on the four-wheeler again, and I do a victory lap again, and then we left. I'm in a lot of pain. All this stuff will make sense. It's gonna blow all your minds. So what was happening is I was supposed to sell the four-wheeler on Saturday. I had a guy coming, but I couldn't find the title, so I had to cancel. And so I've been praying to God about this free home course because I was like, all right, I got to get rid of all this nervousness. I got to get rid of any fear. I got to put my heart into it. I got to pray. I got to ask God for what I need to do. And I started another thing I was doing when I watched his video on Wednesday is I started researching the game trail cameras with the cell phone signal. I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a body camera too. Why not? I'm gonna get a dashboard camera. I was gonna sell this 4-wheeler to buy all this equipment. So when I got into the wreck, what happened in my head is like, oh, God's telling me I should have sold it because I still have it, and here I am with this accident. And I'm like, totally reading it wrong. So what God was, you'll understand in a minute with the rest of the story, God was telling me, hey, don't sell the 4-wheeler, don't buy these cameras, don't do any of this stuff. So I didn't know what was going on. So let's fast forward. So that's Saturday, right? I'm in a bunch of pain. I guess like in the future I can show you guys video and pictures. My ankles are still bruised. The soles of my feet are bruised. I'm walking on bruises right now. That reminds me of that Sunshine song. I'll just have to let my mind stop. Walking on bruises. So I get home. A few days go by. Now it's New Year's Eve. Ooh, right? I'm in pain. I'm laying up in the camper outside of my sister's house. My wife starts getting really antsy. She's like, hey, can we just like do something? I'm getting so tired of sitting in the camper because I've been injured for 3 or 4 days now. And we've been working on the house. She'll help me and watch the grandson, and he'll run around while we're working and stuff. And just like any good husband would do, you don't listen to your wife right away, and you just kind of like try to get 10 or 20 minutes. And so I was like, no. And she's like, come on, let's just don't overdo it. Just see what you can do. And I was like, yeah, all right. She's like, you got to get your body moving. You got to move your body. So we start working. We go upstairs. We're up there for like 3 hours. And then my nephews are there too. My nephews are running around, and they're like, Aunt Alice, we're hungry. Do you have any snacks in the camper? Sometimes they know they can go to Aunt Alice for snacks and stuff. She's like, yeah, we've got snacks. I can make you guys lunch in the camper if you want. And they're like, oh, okay. And she's like, you know what, guys? She just stopped herself. She's like, you know what, you guys? I'm going to take you out to like Chick-fil-A or something so you can play in their playground. And they're like, oh, yay. So they all leave. They're gone. My brother-in-law walks up to me like after that, and he's like, hey, I'm going to go to the gas station. You need anything? I'm going to get a drink. And I was like, no, I'm okay, man. Thank you very much. He leaves. I go downstairs from the kitchen where I'm doing the backsplash tile work. I go down to the camper and I say hi to the dogs. I've got 5 dogs. Or God's got 5 dogs that I'm watching. And I get it. I get a drink of water. I go back upstairs, and I don't know if any of you I won't drop any names, but there's someone else that bought one of John McCaig's trust because of me saying, hey, look at this, hey, look at that, hey, look at this, like, you got to check this out, come on. And out of all the people I've tried to help, this one came over. So she's over here. She's probably watching now. I don't want to throw her name out there or anything, but I was on the phone with her, talking to her about the trust. She's been trying to get things in order, the bank, the notary, all that stuff, and I've done it 2 times, 3 times. John's got great, clear instructions because she knows me. She knows I've done it, and I will talk to her anytime she calls. She just gave me a call. So I'm on the phone with her, and I had been upstairs for about 5 minutes from when I was getting a drink in the camper, and I hear this loud crash, and the whole house shakes. And I was like, I got to go. I don't know what's freaking happening right now, but I got to go. I was like frantic, and I hung up on her. And I go, I'm on the 2nd story. This is a 2-story house. I'm on the 2nd story, and I run towards the noise that I hear, or that I heard, because it was just, it sounded like, it just sounded like a train derailed. It was ridiculous. I get over to the other side of the house, and I see a broken window on the house, and I go over to the window, and I look out. There's a 60 to 70 foot pine tree that just fell on my camper, or, you know, the camper we stay in. It crushed the camper to smithereens, and it also fell on the car that I drive. So the tree fell, crushed the camper, crushed the car, and crushed part of my sister's roof and broke a window in. And this happened because I didn't get the signal. I got beat up and thrown down the hill and got the mic rib. And God was like, yo, don't sell it. Don't do it. Don't move forward. And I was like, oh, God's showing me that I'm okay. No matter what happens, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this stuff. And then this tree falls down. So this is a 5-day window. My rib gets dislocated just from watching a video. And then it gets relocated. And then more get dislocated. And then I'm resting. And then on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, it happened at 1:15 exact, 1:15. And so I had 5 of God's dogs in there, and I've got males and females. So the males are usually in the cage and the females are not, or the females are in the cage and the males are not. So I don't believe in.
The dogs were in a camper when a tree fell on it, is what you said.
Yeah. And when I say this was a tree, it's 2 to 2.5, maybe even 3 foot in diameter. It's
20,000 pounds. So 10,000 pound weight wasn't enough. This tree is 20,000 pounds. You know what I mean?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Because it landed on your car, which is a Geo Metro, so it don't look so. The camper and that were squashed to like nothing.
Smithereens. So I went running downstairs. And I've got good composure. I don't care about losing stuff, but there was lives at risk, and I was about ready to lose it. I'm like, why, God? Like, what? Why? Like, what is? Oh my God! I'm running around. I go to the door. Well, the door is smashed and partially in the yard. I go around. I can't get in. None of the dogs are answering when I call them, and I'm like, well, they're not whimpering. And then I was like, maybe they're freaking smashed, and I was just panicking. So, 4 of the dogs are small. One of them is a little bit larger. She was, I saw her in one of the windows, and I smashed the window with a brick, and I helped pull her out. And I had called my family and told them what happened, and they're all like, "We were just there. What?" And I hung up. I'm like, "You got to get here," you know. So they show up. We get the dogs out after about 40 minutes. And I've got videos. I'll put together a YouTube video to put my footage together. You can see the dogs in the footage. Their cages are just crushed up like soda cans, but not them. They're all just sitting in their cage, like wagging their tails. They got their tongues going. You know, I don't need to do that. You guys know what that looks like. They're very, very happy, like unfazed. And that's when I was like, wow. Because all right, here's the crazy thing is the tree, I don't know how this is going to work on camera, but just picture a rectangular camper or any kind of rectangle. Now dissect it diagonally. So put a line through the rectangle diagonally, and that's where the tree fell, at a diagonal angle and through the center of the camper. The rear left of the camper was to the right of the bottom of the tree, and that's where I had a dog in one of the bathrooms. Just instead of the cage, I just put him in his dog bed and shut the bathroom door. So I don't want more puppies. That's why I do this when I'm not with them, because I've got unfixed dogs, right? None of them got injured. They all were inches away from just being completely smashed and destroyed. One of the dogs had a blanket on the floor, and a tree branch pushed her blanket or her bed through the floor, just like if you put a tissue on your hand, you're doing a magic trick and you do this, and the tissue goes away, tucks into your hand. That's what her bed did. Like the tree hit it, and her bed just goes whoop, down the floor. And she was laying right there, and she didn't get touched. And the way the trailer got hit in the middle, it bent the trailer down and lifted up the front and the back. So the trailer is like this. You know, the trailer's not flat anymore. It's like this. The front jack on the tongue of the trailer where you adjust it and put it on a trailer hitch and stuff, that's not even touching the ground anymore. It's just hovering because the frame bent up. So we get the dogs out. The family's there. Right after we get the dogs out, my grandson's making noise, so I apologize. We get the dogs out, and the family is just like in shock. We're all in awe. And the skies were clear. There was no tornado. There was no high winds. Nothing, right? So my family is all there. We're standing around. The dogs are all good. They're all looking at me like, you lucky guy. You wrecked on the four-wheeler. You can't walk. Like, I was in so much pain, but when the adrenaline kicked in, I was crawling through everything and punching stuff and ripping walls down and trying to get these animals out, and with no pain. And I'm like, wow, maybe moving my body was a good idea. 2 days later, it wasn't a good idea. It caught up with me, and I had the worst pain of my life last night. But I woke up after praying for it to go away. I haven't taken any pain pills either, or I never did anyways. Maybe a Tylenol in the past. I won't even do that. I want to feel reality right now. I want to feel all this pain. It's very hard to describe. I will. I'll get to it. So I'm in a lot of pain from the previous injury. You don't want to be moving your rib cage when you got cracked ribs, and I had to do everything I didn't want to do to get the animals out. So the sky's clear. We get the animals out. We're standing around. We're all like just in shock. And then, like, somebody pushed a button, which would be God. God goes over to his control panel and he's like, all right, thunderstorm. And these dark clouds just come over us out of nowhere, and it just starts pouring on us. And I'm like, all right, so if it isn't smashed, it's wet. And I'm just laughing because everybody's life was spared. So let's laugh. Who cares? Whatever. So I'm just having a good time. I've lost so many stuff. There's so many things. I've been evicted, kicked out of places. I've been a gate guardsman. I've done all kinds of stuff, and I've started over several times. And I'm just like, all right, what's next? Cool. Let's get a different camper. I don't care. It had some wood rot in the front end anyways. Whatever, we see all the good in it. We don't focus on how it's bad. We're all alive, right? So it rained for 20 minutes. And then God was like, I guess with these headphones, picture God like a DJ. He's like watching his creation, and he's like, and then the sky's clear again, like it never happened. I'm in the garage. We're moving stuff. We're trying to get stuff that we can just reach in and grab. Because today I grabbed a lot of stuff that I had to work for hours to get to. I had to smash because the roof was to the floor everywhere, but not where the dogs were. It was amazing. So, this from when the tree fell to when. All right, so. The kids, the children are running around while I'm distracted looking at the camper. It's all smashed. It just rained. The sky opened up again. The sun came out. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. It's like the Truman Show or like Hunger Games where they control the weather. Or they're like, all right, let's drop a tiger in and have the tiger chase the guy in the woods. And there's all these things going on. And I'm like, enough of this. Like, I'm good, So the little kids are like, oh my God, look at the rainbow. And I'm like, what? A rainbow? Like, I'm freaking out because not everybody's here for spiritual reasons. They might be looking into legal stuff, but we are under a firmament, and it's mentioned in the Bible. When you see a rainbow, it's because the light's passing through a crystal and it's creating that arch because we're under a dome. And so from an airplane, if anyone didn't know this, Google it, aerial photos of rainbows. They actually are a sphere. You can see it's a rainbow sphere, and it's like a bubble over the town. But when you're in the town looking at the rainbow, you only see a slice of it, so it looks like an arch. Anywho, I walk around the corner from the garage, and I look up, and my jaw just dropped. I should have broke my jaw. I should have had a dislocated jaw. All of us should, because the rainbow. And I was just talking about this. I'm like, man, I miss the rainbows in Florida. I don't think I'll ever see one in West Virginia because the conditions are different. Sunshine. It's like a little bit overcast here more often. And so this rainbow was the brightest, most defined, closest rainbow I've ever seen in my life. And it wasn't even a single, it was a double rainbow. And it was so vibrant. Usually, like the colors where they change in the rainbow, they're a little bit like blurry in between. These ones are so crisp that you could almost see the line between the colors. And not only that, and I have video proof of this rainbow. Several of us were recording. I was able to zoom in down the street, and you can see the rainbow touching the street. Everybody's trying to find the end of a rainbow to get the pot of gold, right? I saw there's no gold there. But I saw the end of the rainbow, both the end and the beginning of the rainbow, which is cool. I saw the end and the beginning of the rainbow. Okay. So the whole family's in the front yard. We're picking our jaws up. And we're just like, this is God. This is a miracle. My sister starts saying, I've been depressed. Everybody starts opening up to each other. Oh, I've been depressed too. I'm sorry I've been so distant. You know, I really love you. Oh, I love you too. The kids are crying. Like, it was amazing, right? So we find out that the tree was rotten from the center. The outside looked great. And today we inspected, because this is a grouping of trees, and this isn't even my sister's property, it's the neighbor's property, and they're Indian, and the guy borrowed a ladder, and I told him I went to India, and the guy's like, I'll make you food anytime. He's like, right when I told him I'd been to India, he was like, wow, like, you've been to India? You know, talking to a guy in West Virginia, it's usually like, hey, how y'all doing? I've never left this area, you know. So I don't know what I'm saying, but I was so excited. I'm actually standing in their yard, and they come on, they're out of town, and they're like, hey, what are you doing in our yard? I'm like, oh, sorry, look at the rainbow. And I get out of the camera view, their camera on their house. They don't even know a tree fell on anything. We're waiting for them to get back. So
hey, Mike. I want to stop you because Tim only has an hour with us, and
yeah, that's that. I got it out.
I wanted the rainbow. I knew Tim would wait for the rainbow.
Yep.
And it was worth waiting for it. I think everyone appreciated you telling this information because
oh man,
such a great individual. There's no. I'm not going to try and contain what you are and your ability to recount what experiences you've had because they're so important. And I'm so glad thank you for taking the time to come on here. You said you might do it and you did it. And I really appreciate it. I know not just I do, many other people do.
Yeah.
And listen, he because I asked him to, because he's such a sweet guy, he wouldn't even do it. I asked him to start a GoFundMe so you can help him out. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't know where to do it, contact at liberty8academy.org. We'll help you out with that. So
I've never asked for help. I've always been a giver, and I've always been. It's not easy to ask for help.
That's why I'm like, no, please do this, and he did it for me. So yeah, he's not like that at all. So that's why I'm saying he's really.
This one was a doozy. This one was a doozy. I had to ask for help because everything's. I know that my life is okay, but the comforts. Like, we're in a basement right now. We moved into my sister's basement. One thing I have to say real quick though is that when I was at the bank today, I said, "Hey, do y'all have like a lot of rainbows here in West Virginia?" And she's like, "No, but the other day there was this double rainbow," and she's like, "It was touching the roof of the Golden Corral." And I was like, "That's the gold at the end of the rainbow, the Golden Corral. There's a buffet." And so everywhere I went today and yesterday, I'm like, "You guys see rainbows?" They're like, "No, but the other day." And I'm like, "That's my miracle. That was my miracle for my family. Like, that was our rainbow." So it's been a great time. Like, I honestly have not been upset this whole time. I'm not upset at all. I can see the good in it. I can see the message. So long story short, don't do the free home thing because it will end slavery, and you won't have a good time. You're going to be the target of this entire system if you do the free home thing. I didn't even try it. I tried to try it. Right. And it didn't work. Like, even though it will work, don't do it. That's what I'm saying.
God's going to have a reason to step in and solve this thing. And we're not I mean, there's a big ending. There's a big finale. There's a big rainbow at the end. You know what I'm saying?
That's what,
to happen is the big till then. So thank you for coming on and doing this, Mike. Hey, you're welcome on here anytime. Everyone listening wants to hear from you again.
We're gonna go.
So and hey, my prayers and love to your family too, dude. Okay. Thanks for sharing.
Yep. Thank you.
Have a good night, man.
Yeah, you too. I'll see you guys next week. And I won't have nothing for you, but I'll be there. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right,
I'll tell you my rainbow story next week.
Sounds great.
Okay.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Happy New Year.
All right. Happy New Year, everyone. See you next week. Okay.
Happy New